Today, we begin our 3-round 2026 NFL mock draft with trades. Just like the NFL draft, this is going to be split up into 2 days, round 1, day 1, rounds 2 and 3, day number 2. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this. Below my board is my face. And yeah, it's based on all 22 grades. Players with an asterisk are preseason evals that when I get some more all 22 tape will be dropping based on how they've been performing this year. But if you guys want to see all 290 plus of them, feel free to go over to the Patreon. You get to see all of that. All the breakdowns, every single rookie that plays a rep in the NFL, I end up talking about them or breaking it down in terms of their performance. And then also every single player that has a win or lose stock every single week, the stock report, it's extended versions over there. So go check it out. Let's get into this number 1 overall. So this is with trades. And I know that there's some small, minute tweaks that will need to be made because I know PFF is notoriously bad for not having certain picks swapped and stuff. So if you guys see anything like that, please call it out. But this is based on the current draft order. I'm going to keep it because I do want to keep the Ravens at 3 for one time. And yeah, if the Jets are sitting here at number 1, they're going to go QB. Like Ruben Bain would be fun. You know, Peter Woods would be fun. They're sitting at number 1. They're going at QB. Some people will say Dante Moore. Dante Moore has been fantastic, but I do think the 1-year sample size versus Fernando Mendoza, who's been improving year over year, is just going to be a little bit more translatable, so to speak. So, you know, Fernando Mendoza going to be the guy there. That is definitely... Look at that. PFF is having graphical errors. As you can see, ODU was, I believe, week number 1. Kennesaw State week 2. But we're going to go Fernando Mendoza at number 1 overall. He's my QB3 coming to the year. He is currently still my QB3. I'm a believer in the Lenore Sellers upside. John Mateer, when healthy, I think has taken massive strides. And then Fernando Mendoza right there. Fantastic performance from all these guys. I have once again partnered with DraftKings Sportsbooks to bring y'all an amazing offer. New customers turn $5 into $200 if your bet wins, paid instantly in bonus bets. The crown is yours. Make sure to use the code HMS when signing up. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. If sports betting is not yet available in the state that you live in, do not worry. DraftKings still has you covered with their daily fantasy option. I live in the state of Texas, so this is going to be the site that I use. Make sure to use the code HMS when signing up, and a huge thank you to DraftKings once again for sponsoring this episode. At number 2 for the Cleveland Browns, I'm so excited to go Ruben Bain for this team because I'm tired of going after, you know, quarterback and all that. Commanded no longer by Joe Flacco. They hated Joe Flacco so much that they're like, we're going to send you first off in division. But secondly, and more importantly, we're going to send your ass to a worse offensive line. That's just comical. But Dylan Gabriel actually had a pretty solid first showing. We'll see how that ends up panning out. I mean, with their second pick, where the hell is it? It's at 26. So maybe we take a quarterback late first, because if you're at number 2, I assume your season did not continue going well. But sitting here at number 2, we're going to go Ruben Bain Jr. Could talk about going after Dante Moore at that spot. He ended up being born in, I believe, Eastside Cleveland. So it'd be kind of cool to bring him back. But Ruben Bain is absolutely fantastic. Do I think you guys need edge rusher? Not to that degree. I love Isaiah McGuire, but when you can end up getting somebody who is a true game-changing edge rusher, you don't do it for guys who are quality edge 2s or edge 3s, especially with contracts coming up. You don't have an extended period of time with Isaiah McGuire or Alex Wright. So Ruben Bain going to be that longer-term option there, somebody who is absolutely fantastic. And not only are you getting Ruben Bain to yourself, you're taking him away from the Baltimore Ravens, who somehow, some way are sitting at number 3 because there's a lot of dysfunction going on in the organization. So I think you guys are going to turn it around. I'm not worried in any way, shape, or form. But I think you guys need better run defense more than anything on earth at the moment. And, you know, you guys need to stop that before you start getting flashy and going after all the other shit. Also, Jair Alexander, stop being a dick. Stop being dick. You know, I mean, like, the dude ended up trying to go after, I think he ended up successfully going after Jalen Knowles' first touchdown catch. So not a fan of that, but I do think a player like Peter Woods, defensive interior, either is going to be valued super high or else they usually fall to like the mid-teens. But Peter Woods, even though statistically he hasn't, I mean, he obviously got better as the year went on. But I mean, early to start the year, you look at the stats and you're like, not doing too well. But when you watch the film, Peter Woods has been so damn good. and he's worth it. And by the way, Caleb Tiernan, Peter Woods, Jordan Tyson, like all these grades are pretty much up to date. Except Jordan Tyson, he could get boosted a little bit more, but that would end up boosting him to number 2 or number 1, so it's not going to make him any worse. I'll just say that. But Peter Woods, a solid foundational piece. I know Ruben Bain is a little bit sexier, but Peter Woods, I actually think would be more of a benefit, and he also has played reps on the edge. Like, there you go. He over the tackle, he and outside, and then off ball. I mean, he has over 20 reps this year, not in the defensive tackle position. So get excited, use him everywhere. Damn good player. Number 4 for the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a pretty instrumental year for you guys to retool. And the question is, do you go after wide receiver, quarterback, or offensive tackle? Because I think the offensive line's garbage. The thing about Spencer Fano, I have him officially upgraded or updated, and he got a little bit worse, right? I saw that Texas Tech game, and there's some aspects that were a little bit worse. But I think with the tackle positional value still there, he ended up still being worth a blue chip grade. I have him as a high tier starter, and that's a lot more than what you guys could ask for. I do think there's some aspects of his game. You look at his arm length. I don't know if it's actually going to be more than 33 inches. I think there is some guard implications there, but fantastic run blocker, really mobile, and he does have a lot of excellent reps as a pass blocker. I do think Caleb Tiernan's better. That is an updated grade. My tackles, for the most part, are updated. So, I mean, I'm pretty up to date on, some of the top guys, Lamu, Tiernan, Fano, World. World ended up dropping, as you guys can see. I had an asterisk there for a reason. But Spencer Fano, first off, weak right tackle class. But secondly, and more importantly, I don't think that he's exclusively a right tackle. They actually played him, funnily enough, in the Texas Tech game in certain run formations as the left tackle. There's one play in specific where that ended up actually happening, but they utilize him all over the offensive line, pulling him to the left. I feel like you can have that flexibility there with him. And obviously, offensive line, super crucial for a foundation. With the wide receiver class being this good, I feel comfortable building through the trenches and building a foundation before getting a little sexy and then going after something a little bit more of a spark. At number 5 for the New Orleans Saints, I'm going to avoid quarterback. Going to do it again. And this time, the question is, how do we end up handling that? I'm looking at Caleb Downs right now and thinking of him and Jonas Sanker as being probably 2 of the best players, like the best safety duo possibly in the NFL. I mean, I know Malachi Starks could end up getting up there with Kyle Hamilton. Just depends if Malachi Starks finally hits his stride. But Downs and Sanker could be a better combination. That's something that intrigues me. Like, I'm trying my best because you could just go Dante Moore here and see what happens. But I'm trying to give Spencer Rattler the credit. He's been fantastic this year, pound for pound. Wide receivers not off the market. People are talking about Shaheed being potentially dealt. I mean, Olave's always been on the table. Like, there definitely is room to go after a true one here in Jordan Tyson that you haven't necessarily had, and I think it's mainly due to concussions and injury with Olave, but a true one since Michael Thomas. And I think Jordan Tyson could be that. But again, I think in round 2, round 3, which we're going to be able to explore here in tomorrow's episode, there's a lot of room to go after big playmakers. And technically Jordan Tyson could be worth it, but I think going after the best player available is just the best thing to do. So I think Caleb Downs is speaking to me. I mean, continue to upgrade the secondary. Never a bad idea. Dark horse here is honestly Arvell Reese. I mean, he is dynamic, but there hasn't been a linebacker in the past 5 years in the top 10. I highly doubt that there's one in the top 5. I'm going to go after the best player available in Caleb Downs. We're going to have Sanker and Downs be the most elite young duo at safety in the league. I'm happy with it. Number 6 for the Vegas Raiders, Caleb Downs would have been probably one of my first picks, but this team needs a QB. They need help. Brother needs some help up in here. And it's Dante Moore or John Mateer. Those are going to be the next 2 most likely. I know Lenoir's is a great option here, but when you have helmet backwards Geno Smith being the guy who probably would be his mentor, I'd want somebody who's going to be a little bit more of a surefire thing. And it looks like Dante Moore, with the way he handled pressure, again, it's so funny seeing PFF's graphics shifted down. It's so simple. I know exactly how I would end up fixing this in their background. It's just, it's literally a column issue. Like, I think they added like 3 rows into a column and it screwed this all up. So hopefully they end up adjusting that. Um, Honestly, that's a mistake I'll take every time from PFF. But I think Dante Moore right now is earning it because under pressure versus a team like Penn State, going to the whiteout, ended up showing a lot of poise, even in overtime, showing a lot of poise. And he's young. If you want to keep Geno, you can end up training him up. I like that idea right there. Dante Moore, quarterback out of Oregon. At number 7 for the Tennessee Titans. So also Dante Moore, East Cleveland, Detroit, Michigan for high school. And, obviously went to UCLA, so California. This guy's all over the country. So now we're just kind of landing perfectly in between. Is it perfectly in between? Where he ended up going on the West Coast and then the Midwest there in Nevada. At number 7 for the Tennessee Titans, I'm running this one in all day. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. There's not really a player who I think is more qualified to save this franchise than Jordan Tyson. This guy is literally unguardable. Hines Ward is the wide receiver coach, apparently, at Arizona State. I didn't even pick up on that. That's my fault. And it looks like it. I mean, Jordan Tyson just looks so polished. You can talk about Heartline at Ohio State, but I really do want to start talking about how much Jordan Tyson has polished up to be a true lead number 1 in the NFL. And I was debating taking him at number 4. I was debating taking him at number 3, if I'm just going to be completely honest with y'all. Even at number 2, it's not impossible. But I do think in this wide receiver class, maybe the quantity of them would end up lowering the value just a little bit. At number 8 for the New York Giants, I mean, I know that a lot of people got mad at, well, luckily we don't have to deal with passing on Spencer Fano this time. People got their feathers ruffled because I ended up passing on Fano, who I've taken a billion times before for the Giants, because I like Illuminor. I think that if you're a genuine Giants fan, you need to understand that Illuminor has actually been quite solid. But there still is a need potentially for the upgrade there. And there definitely is still some need to fix the interior of the offensive line. Now, I think Marcus Bowe is going to continue to improve. Friend of the show, love him to death. And then we still probably need to go and address the interior just a bit more. So that's perfectly fine. But the right tackle situation is not dire the way people are saying, oh, if Fano's there, we need to take him. I think Illuminor can end up making that work for at least a year or two more. So I like that in terms of the vision there. Now, I also think this team could definitely use a weapon because I ended up going after Jordan Tyson last time. Carnell Tate is on a legendary run. I need to update him again because, he's just gotten better and better. I mean, versus Minnesota, like when he was not the focal point, and they obviously were like, it's funny on the rep where he ended up having a beautiful touchdown catch. You saw like 5 or 6 defenders follow Jeremiah Smith, and it was a one-on-one versus Carnell, and then obviously he made him pay. But Carnell is a fantastic receiver. Granted, he is obviously the second thought, but it's not the bad thing. I've also graded Amari Washington, by the way. So if you guys were wondering, I'm not going to have too many guys where I'm like, I don't know. But for the Giants, it's so obvious to me. I know some people are saying like, oh, I mean, the secondary is not like the worst thing in the world. And it's not. You got Debo, you got Phillips. Safety core, honestly, not the worst thing on planet Earth in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that the Deonte Banks project, done so. Finito. Let's go and get someone who's actually really damn good. And that's Mansour Delane. Quarterback 1 for me coming into the year. With an updated grade, he's currently at number 19 for me. With an upgraded grade, I think he's going to be around Arvell Reese's grade. So he'll be at like 11 or 10, which is perfect territory to go after a true cornerback 1 here. Mansour Delane, no trades in the top 10, but I just think that the value is impeccable. I haven't found a team where I'm like, I don't like this, apart from maybe the Saints, but I didn't find a team that would want to trade up for a quarterback, and that's just so expensive to move up there. So even in a trades mock draft, we don't always see a bunch of trades in the top 10. Again, you know why? Moolah, expensive. Very, very tough to gauge the price point there. And number 9 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Honestly, I'd be calling up some teams here. Now, they don't move in the first. But like part of me is like, oh, I want to have a team move up for Arvell Reese and just jump the Panthers here because my Panthers fans were dicks the last episode because I didn't go after Arvell Reese. But I mean, it's just not organizationally right to move with the Bengals. I've done it a little too much, and I own up for that. I do think that there's some adjustment in terms of the way I handle it to where I need to, maybe tone it back a little bit in terms of how I handle the Bengals. But looking at how they should be addressing their team. Interior offensive line, yes. But at number 9, again, you got to look at the pick value. It's not worth it. Edge rusher definitely is something I'm dying to do, but none of these guys fit the profile of what the organization looks for, which is big, physical, and measurables. TJ Parker, a little bit shorter arms based on like what I've seen. It's not official. He's one of the guys who I don't have an official number on. Keldrick Falk, not going to test out that well. He's not a high RAS guy. Cassius Howell, sub 31-inch arms. LT Overton, under 6'3". Not really going to be a big RAS guy if that's going to be the case. I assume. I mean, there's a chance, but LT also, I don't think he's efficient enough to be in the top 10. Like, this is a team I 100% want to move with, by the way. But I don't think I can. But they could go after offensive tackle here. And it's like, you do look at CC Maui-Goa. I do think people are going to finally get on the Caleb Tiernan train eventually. I ended up regrading him and looked at his game versus Oregon. I don't know what the hell happened versus UCLA. I got to find out. I got to get that tape. But, I mean, the dude ended up playing. I mean, everyone's like glazing the hell out of Mateo Uyagole. But, like, the game where Caleb Tiernan gave up 0 pressures versus Mateo, nobody's going to talk about that. Actually, I'm going to throw a curveball here. The Bengals in the first 2 rounds have gone corner before. I've done this for them before with Mansour Delane, but I'm going to go with it again. Colton Hood absolutely could be this pick. I do think he's more likely than Keith Abney to go at number 2. But the more Keith Abney plays, and I think that as this team gets better and better and maybe makes a push for the Big 12 championship and makes it into the playoffs, the more eyes will be on him and the bigger plays he's going to make. Keith Abney is tied at corner 1 for me with Mansour Delane. Again, Mansour needs to be updated for this year's grading system, and he's gone even better than what I expected. So we're going to go after Keith Abney there. Back-to-back corners. Again, completely different styles. Keith Abney a little bit more physical, but he also is built so well for an Al Golden defense. Like, he reminds me in terms of the physical prowess, and maybe not the elite athleticism, but just the absolute dominance he has as a corner. Reminds me a lot of Leonard Moore. Not the same tier, because I think Leonard Moore is going to be possibly my highest graded corner of all time. I need to see how that ends up panning out, but he's probably going to be my number 2 player next to Jeremiah Smith next year. But yeah, I mean, this is somebody who fits what Al Golden likes to run. And you need a strong boundary corner. And if you look at what the organization likes versus, what Al Golden likes, this is the one that makes the most sense. And again, I would have traded. At number 10, we have the Panthers. We ain't trading out of this one. I know you guys have been itching to get Arvell Reese. I'm going to give them to y'all. All right. There's my Christmas gift to y'all. Arvell Reese, linebacker out of The Ohio State University. This dude has been phenomenal. Again, 5 years now that there hasn't been a linebacker selected in the top 10, but everybody's starting to believe that Arvell Reese is going to be the first. First off, he's 243 pounds at 6'4". You're not dealing with somebody who's going to be, a quasi edge rusher, or like, even though I think Arvell Reese has the ability to be a quasi edge rusher, even as a pure linebacker, he's worth a top 10. He's very physical, very imposing, and he makes big plays in the biggest moments. Like the first game versus Texas, he made 4 huge plays during the game. And that was his first game, like really being part of the head honcho group there. And so it's so obvious where this guy's going trajectory-wise. This team needs a true Mike. And most importantly, this team has been itching for one since Luke Kuechly, and we give it to him there with Arvell Reese. At number 11 for the Houston Texans, honestly, Kenyon Sadiq would be kind of wild. I know this team needs to fix the offensive line. It pisses me off, honestly, that I believe it came out that you guys were saying, oh, we want Woody Marks to be more of a pass-catching back. Because, like, the fuck? He ended up balling out when he had a larger workload. Like, what is up with these coaches just saying, oh, we're going to ease our guys in? They'll, like, give us a little taste, like one game where they go off, and then we're like, mixed signals. You saw the goods, get the goods. Like, let the guy play. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a little bit more Woody Marks. That's why I'm passing on Jeremiah Love. If it's another week of extremely reduced production, we're going to go Jeremiah Love at that point. Again, makes me irate, but we got to do what we got to do. Right now, people are just sky high on CC Maui-Goa. He's also coming off an 85 pass blocking grade with 0 pressures allowed this past week, which is pretty damn awesome. I mean, he's a fantastic tackle, but I just don't know if it translates to the NFL. I think he's a better as a guard in the NFL, but I also think the Texans are going to get an upgrade regardless of where they put him. It's a pretty damn dire offensive line. CC is not a bust. I know somebody brought that up earlier. Could we trade down from this spot? Maybe, but I also think at that point the Cardinals are a team that are a prime threat to go after him. So I think that especially with how weak the offensive tackle class is, it's the right thing to do. Go CC Maui, go at number 11. Still no trades. This is kind of what happens, though. And number 12 for the Arizona Cardinals, I kind of want to get ballsy with the team. I kind of want to get ballsy. And, I mean, the thing is, I'm not used to this draft order because y'all know I like to use different draft orders than just, records because right now, since we're so early in the season, there's a lot of variation. But I'm seeing a guy like Kenyon Sadiq here. I'm looking at Carnell Tate. I mean, the Cowboys are a prime team to go after a super weapon like Carnell at this point based on the guys available. Eberflus could end up going after someone like TJ Parker, but I mean, you do have a big risk. But I am honestly looking with the Chiefs right now, and I know the Rams are very disappointed with how Ferguson's production's been, and they also have 2 picks in a very close range. I'm almost wanting to move up with the Chiefs for Kenyon Sadiq. That's where my head is right now. I could try to be ballsy with a team like the Broncos because they don't have a ton of positions of need to where I would be like really worried. And this is a way to be able to rob your interdivision rival here in the Chiefs. That'd be kind of fun. And they've also made a move from 20 to 10 before. Or no, never mind. It was the other way around. They traded back with the Steelers when we moved up for God-forsaken Devin Bush. But I mean, we could end up reversing the roles here. That sounds fun. I mean, I'm looking at it. Where I'm going to look at for the Cardinals is probably linebacker. And where's the Seahawks? They're at 23. I'm going to steal Sonny Styles from the Seahawks too in this move. So we're going to see how this ends up going out. We're going to be trading up to jump the Chiefs because there's no team in front of them that are going to be looking for a tight end. But in order to make this happen, we're going to be giving our second round pick, maybe getting a third in return. I want to hear what you guys think about this. Maybe we give up 105 as well. Like, feel free to work with that as you will. There's not going to be too many more trades that do happen that are going to be of this magnitude. From 17 to 15 was pick 120. So you would think that, that type of move up would probably justify about like a third round or fourth round pick. So I like that right there. I mean, it is technically more in the future as well. If you want to start doing that, if you guys get really butthurt about it, let me know. I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq here all day, every day. I mean, again, you're also stealing him from the Chiefs. That is my biggest concern. And you end up getting a huge position of need. Also going to an organization that is a school that, your quarterback is from. So obviously similar like-minded foundation. 13 for the Dallas Cowboys. Also great way to start off with our first trade. Defensive interior, edge rusher. Those are the 2 positions you want to target first. Defensive interior, though, I do feel like we can end up getting some good value outside of round 1. I think wide receiver, you can see the value of having more weaponry. Ryan Flournoy. I'm so happy that I've liked that guy. I've continued to be like, please, Ryan Flournoy, do something. It ends up having a 100-yard game, and it's just so beautiful to see. But I'm looking at Carnell Tate right now, and I don't think George Pickens is going to be there if you guys are at 13. It just doesn't seem like the production would match up. Now, I do think you guys are going to make a push for the playoffs. As ragtag and scrappy as your defense is, your offense still is very, very powerful. Even without CeeDee Lamb, it's very powerful. I think there's a chance. And this team does need weaponry. It does. I mean, at the very minimum, unless Ryan Flournoy, and I love him, can prove to be a true wide receiver 3, which I don't. I think he's going to be a really good 4. You need weaponry. And that's assuming George Pickens stays. That's a big assumption. I don't think we can make that assumption anymore. We're going to go Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of the Ohio State University, and we're going to address edge later on. And 14 for the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a quarterback here. Again, so many questions. John Mateer, health questions. Lenoris, health and development questions. This is a perfect opportunity to go after a great player there in John Mateer. He is my QB2. Again, we'll see how he is with his hand. I pray to God he does not come back early to play in the Red River Showdown because an unranked Texas team, Not worth screwing up your entire life by rushing back 17 days after a hand surgery. Just gonna put that on there. But at 15 for the Chiefs, this is a quick and easy one as well. Jeremiah Love is the most game-changing back in the class. I love Damon Claiborne. He's been banged up right now, so we'll see how he ends up returning to action. But a top-tier back here in Jeremiah Love, who has taken big steps forward as the season progressed. At 16 for the Chicago Bears, I mean, I would argue edge is probably one of the bigger positions of need for the team, but this is the range where you can go after high quality offensive line, even on the interior. Vega Ione ended up bitching Amari Washington. I mean, Amari Washington's graded like higher, and to be honest, guys, I think this is a big reach. It's a big reach to put him this high. Just gonna put that out there. Ended up grading him. He's in around the 100 range for me. Maybe I think might be a little bit lower than that, but I don't necessarily see it with him unless you're using him all over the line of scrimmage as kind of like a quasi edge rusher. But this is where, I mean, Jonah Jackson has not been necessarily great, in my opinion. Just gonna put that out there. Statistically, he's like, oh, not that bad, not that bad. But you watch it, and there's some clear issues on the offensive line, in my opinion. Left tackle, you still could end up upgrading with Caleb Tiernan, in my opinion, right down the street. I don't think he'll end up being a first-round pick, but the last time we saw a Northwestern tackle who was very efficient with shorter arms ended up being an all-pro. Not saying it's going to happen again. Don't scout the helmet, but not the worst thing on planet Earth. If I can end up trading out of this position, I think I will. And I do think some teams should start getting a little bit aggressive here for Lenore Sellers. Ty Simpson as well, but, I mean, I think a team like the Browns, a team like the Steelers, like there needs to be some sort of movement here. And I think the Bears are going to be calling back because I think I want to just move back and end up going after the high quality edge in Keldrick Falk. Like just really solid, but someone you should probably take a little bit later. So if I'm going to do that, I'm calling up, I'm seeing what I could get from the Steelers. I'm seeing what I can get from the Browns. The Browns, I mean, again, if you're sitting there at number 2, they should be a little bit more desperate. And this is pretty much a free pick to them. So, I mean, if I'm going to look at both of those teams, because quarterback's very valuable. It is. Steelers have the extra third. That's pretty damn valuable. And the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, they end up sending a 5th round pick. They might have sent that Las Vegas pick to the Jaguars for part of their deal with the cornerbacks. So I'm going to be honest. I think the Steelers are an aggressive team. They've moved up before multiple times in the first round. We're going to do it again. The Pittsburgh Steelers get ballsy. We're going to send a third round pick, excuse me. We're going to send our second. We're going to essentially move up. So we're sending our first, second, and one of our thirds. We're going to move back to the 3rd round. And that way we can end up also sending a future third as well. You guys can end up getting grouchy about that, or we can end up just doing pick number 89 as part of this deal. A first, second, third. If you guys want to see something else, maybe you get pick 118 in here, but there you go. Happy birthday. We sent a 4th as well. So the Steelers end up trading a large amount of draft capital to move up, but when you can end up getting a quarterback like Lenore Sellers, the value's worth it. He's a true potential number 1 pick. We'll see if he comes out, but the development's needed. I think Aaron Rodgers should stay as a quarterback coach, and at that point, you have 5 years to build something truly special with a truly special player. This team doesn't need that many things. If I'm just going to be completely honest, we're doing a fantastic job with free agency, filling gaps. So I feel actually really confident with the fact that we have so many picks. We're able to leverage them. And again, we ended up getting an extra 3rd round back in that equation. At number 17 for the Washington Commanders, tight end would have been the route I'd end up going after if we were able to get Kenyon Sadiq. Would have been gone now twice by this point, though. Not a big issue for me because I'm really happy with TJ Parker here. I think this team needs to continue upgrading their edge, getting someone who's younger, and TJ is a lot better this year than he was last year. It's good to see him take that progression step, and I just want to see it a little bit more before he gets to that final tier where he's like a true top 20 first-round pick, but I do think he's going to get there. At 18 for the Rams, first pick, John Mateer. At pick number 18, we've already gone a couple corners at this point, but I do like the idea of going after Colton Hood. I know you guys are saying, hey, there's not necessarily the biggest need at corner at this point, but I mean, there's not many other positions I could see this team taking in the first. Offensive tackle is there. And Caleb Lamu, again, literally was used as a right tackle for a rep in the Texas Tech game. Like he has played 11 reps at right tackle. It's not impossible to see him being moved there for the long haul and maybe used as a guard in the short run. But Lamu I have him graded as a guard as well. I have him graded just outside the first as an offensive tackle and then like very, very high as a guard. And I think I like that flexibility. We're going to go after Caleb Lamu there for the Rams. At 19 for the New England Patriots, wide receiver Carnell Tate usually is my move. He is no longer available. Not saying that's out of the question, but when you look at the edge rushers, none of them, if you look at the builds of the recent edge rushers you guys have been bringing in, none of them match in terms of the value. So, right tackle as well. You absolutely could go after it. Caleb Tiernan, you guys are not afraid of arm length. Now, granted, he hasn't played, he's played one rep at right tackle. But I mean, his game reminds me a shit ton of Will Campbell's. Fluid mover, shorter arms, but honestly, somebody who makes it work. I'm going to trade back in order to do this. So the question is, who am I screwing over? Do I screw over the Cardinals? I don't think a move up would I don't think moving up this range would be necessarily realistic for a linebacker. So I'm just going to put that out there. So who else is at risk? Like for the Chargers, interior offensive line, I actually think that a team in the Vikings with their issues at center, because Kelly has some big question marks as to whether he'll ever play again based on the concussions. The center class is pretty weak. I know moving up for a center is pretty ballsy, but I know he's going at number 21. Like that's the position I'm instantly gunning for. So the question is, how valuable is it? It would be a late third or a mid fourth round pick to move up this range. Is that worth going after someone that you can just lock into center and then keep from there? The answer is yes. So I'm really happy with that. I mean, the Lions can get ballsy, but that's a little bit too expensive of a trade. So I'm not going to do that. So we're going to move up with the Vikings. Pick 120 ended up moving up from 15 to 17 or 17 to 15. I think it's pretty much the same exact range here. The Patriots end up acquiring an extra little pick, and the Vikings have moved up for Connor Lew, the center out of Auburn, the top center in the class. Again, offensive line is very clearly a priority for you guys, especially with a younger quarterback based on how you guys spent money in free agency last year. Don't let an issue at center ruin all of that. At number 20 for the Arizona Cardinals, end up projecting it before, doing it again. Sonny Styles, linebacker out of the Ohio State University, acquired a good amount of draft capital as well through that trade back, and I'm happy for it. 21 with the Los Angeles Chargers. Also, Sonny Styles, he's the only, I think, linebacker who in the whole entire country that doesn't have a missed tackle at this point, or at least one that is in the Power 5. Number 21, Los Angeles Chargers. Would have been great to get Connor Lew here. Interior offensive line still needs help. I might still opt for that. You guys ended up trading and taking in Odafe Owe. We'll see if he ends up polishing up and getting back to the talent that we know he has. But I am intrigued with the idea of a corner here because you guys have Dante Jackson out there. Colton Hood would be a pretty good option for the long haul there. And he does feel very Michigan-esque in terms of the high zone IQ, great physicality. Like, to me, those are two staples of Michigan corners. So I think that's a route that I'd be willing to take for this team. I do know a nose would be really valuable. I just don't think that we need to spend the money on that. And I don't think there's a player here that is generating enough buzz for me to have a move up. So, we're going to just go after best interior offensive lineman. I think that matters a lot. I mean, you guys are literally benching your center. We'll see if Vega Ione can do it, but Vega has played like a true, top 15 guard. He has been fantastic. We're going to go Vega Ione here at number 21. At number 22 for the Patriots, again, I know I'm going to make people mad by doing this. I understand. But first off, when you end up drafting Will Campbell at number 4, he had big question marks, and he is shown to be really, really reliable. That's fantastic. Caleb Tiernan has a lot of the similar traits. And I know as the draft gets closer and closer, people are going to realize who ended up doing well versus these first round edge rushers like Mateo Uyunglele, guys who are considered, first 2 round edge rushers, the very minimum. And it's like, oh, this guy stonewalled him. Okay. I mean, damn. And I mean, I honestly, great movement skills. I'm going to plant my flag here. This is such a bad tackle class that it's not out of the question to go after someone like Tiernan. So I'm going to do it. Again, you look at what the Patriots have done. And again, I already know I do great drafts for my Patriots fans. So if you guys don't like it, I can guarantee you it's not going to be every week I go after Caleb Tiernan. But I mean, for me right now, an updated grade, he's at number 3. He has short arms, but I think he is a very, very good tackle. The very minimum, you're going to get a high tier guard. Is he the most physical guy in the run game? I don't think he's like noticeably stronger than the majority of the class, but I think people give him way too much shit for being like people give him way too much shit for not being the most enforceable run blocker, and I still think he is. So I have a higher grade on him than I did Will Campbell, but I still really liked Will Campbell. I just had my concerns as to whether the arm length would end up being an issue. Caleb Tiernan ended up going up against JT Tuimoloau, Mateo Uyunglele. Both those players are going to have over 34-inch arms, inch and a half more reach than him, more than that. And he is calm, patient, and locked both of them down. I'm happy taking a shot on someone like that there at 22. At 23 for the Seattle Seahawks, again, could have tried to make a move up for Sonny Styles. Didn't do so. I think you guys are in a great position regardless. I mean, you're sitting pretty. You get to do whatever you want. And I still want to go after somebody who's going to be like a big vertical threat down the field. And that's kind of something you don't really have. I don't want to have everything be on JSN's shoulders. And, Torrey Horton has some good ability as well, but I think Denzel Boston deserves a ton of love. I mean, especially after showing the consistency of Tetairoa McMillan, you're going to have a lot of those similar, really desirable traits being transferred in with Denzel Boston. At number 24 for the Cowboys went Carnell Tate in the first, and Keldrick Falk has just landed. I don't think Keldrick was going to be with. I normally go Keldrick for the Cowboys. I think I want to go after someone a little bit more explosive, and that's LT Overton. I mean, I could wait till round 2 and go after Zion Young. I mean, I could do that. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Zion Young's been a monster this year. I could try to do that. Try to big brain it and go defensive interior here instead. Like Christian Miller. He's somebody who could just be terrorizing. I mean, you guys see what happens with Jalen Carter. Like his wins are on that tier. And this defensive interior class might be deep, but it's not built with guys like that. So I think I'm going to do it. I haven't gone Christian Miller for this team. And I have hiccups right now, by the way. I do want to test out that theory. What happens if you go defensive interior here? And so we go Christian Miller, Carnell Tate for the Cowboys to start off the first round. At number 25 for the Chicago Bears. Another reason why I wanted to go Keldrick Falk, but I mean, regardless, you'd end up finding a way. I also don't think that Keldrick Falk athletically would match up with what the Cowboys are going after, but like I feel very comfortable here going after Keldrick Falk for the Bears. He's a Dennis Allen type of edge rusher, 6'5 plus, 285 plus, and has long arms. Just going to be a higher floor edge too that you could have in pair with Deo Odingbo, and that's just kind of what you should be looking for at this point. At 26 for the Cleveland Browns, first pick Ruben Bain. Did not end up making the big trade for Lenore Sellers, even though I could have. But cornerback-wise, you ended up making a move, Newsome, for Tyson Campbell. We'll see how that ends up working out for the long haul. But this team needs offensive line. It needs weaponry. We can do all of that. So I'm really happy with the position that we're in because if we want to look at offensive line, you still could go after someone like Isaiah World. I think he needs to play guard for the short run. So I like him a lot more for a team like the Cowboys. But like Trevor Gooseby still worries me a bit. Having a 5 pressure week this past week is, again, scary to see that uptick. So I'm going to go after just best player available here. I'm going to go after Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. A dynamic route runner who has contested catch capabilities as well, even though he is sub 6 foot. But he is just somebody who turns on a dime, best change of direction in the class. Just somebody who is nearly unguardable, which is kind of what you should be going after. So we're going to go with him there at 26. At 27 for the Buccaneers. And yes, I know the Steelers could have sat and then took in Ty Simpson. I get it. But I do think that the value is just too damn good for Lenore Sellers. At 27 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, David Bailey is usually my option. Is there going to be somebody that a team should try to move up for? I mean, again, the Browns could just move up and go after Ty Simpson. I just feel like it's so similar to what they have that you're not getting a noticeable upgrade. That does kind of scare me. I do think that the Dolphins could be open to that, especially with that 5th-year contract, but picks are very valuable to a team that's trying to rebuild. So I don't really feel like there's too many teams that are going to be vying for that right there. So Buccaneers kind of SOL, out of luck. At number 27, though, not a bad spot to be in. Linebacker-wise, I'm not taking a third linebacker in the first round. I'm going to go after someone like LT Overton or David Bailey. And David Bailey ended up throwing aside Spencer Fano. So I'm going to show that some love. I know it's a little boring for my Buccaneers fans, but all but gold usually works. David Bailey, one of the top edge rushers in the entire country. Number 28 for the Detroit Lions. Avion Trell honestly might not be a bad choice for this team with the way they're like looking at the situation right now with Terry and Arnold. It sucks, but you know, it's the circle of life, man. It unfortunately happens. But edge rusher is not out of the question, and I do like the idea of LT Overton as that bigger edge rusher who also has internal applications. I'm going to go after him here for the Lions. Number 29, LT Overton would have been nice for the Bills, but not the case here. Defensive back is pretty easy. Linebacker as well. Wide receivers, the dark horse. You look at someone like KC Concepcion who can provide return value as well. Keep guys a little bit healthier in that aspect. But yeah, to me, Dylan Thieneman, it's not really close. He's just really damn good value, a top 10 player on my board, and still a top tier defenseman for Oregon who sealed the game versus Penn State with that interception. Number 30, San Francisco 49ers. I talked about Isaiah World before, and I think this is the best spot for him. I really do, because I want to play guard in the short run as well. Like, that's my goal. Have him replace Connor Colby in the short as he learns to play tackle better in the long. And I know that he has really good arm length, I think over 34 inches. So he's destined to play left tackle, and you need to have that in there. I think my big concern with trying to move down is that the Eagles would be a perfect spot for Isaiah World because he apparently has some experience in the past at right tackle, to maybe learn from Lane Johnson for a year if he ends up doing so. So I just think that you're too tight in terms of like where you'd end up like opportunity cost being. If that's not the case, like if you end up moving down, even Trevor Gooseby could be taken by a team in the near future. So we're going to go after Isaiah World, tackle out of Oregon. Again, play guard in the short run, tackle in the long. 31 for the Indianapolis Colts. Linebacker, edge, like, because based on the amount of guys coming up for contracted edge, definitely someone like Mateo Uyagole, Zion Young, Denai Dennis Sutton. All of them are very, very on the board for this team. I know a lot of people talk about corner 2 for this team as well. And honestly, Colton Hood, exciting. I could see it. I mean, you can't really go wrong. There's a lot of very good selections for this team. I do think that Lou could end up getting Trey Hendrickson again. I know that the money is not very good in terms of how it end up working out, but I mean, there's just a high likelihood that would happen. I do think based off of how Lou likes his corners, he would go after Avion Terrell before Colton Hood. Just thinking back to the corners like Cam Taylor Britt, I think they have a little bit similar of a style to Avion Terrell over Colton Hood. So we're going to go Avion Terrell there at 31 to pair up for a long-term corner 2 for the Colts. Leaving the Eagles at 32, and they're in the perfect position. Because you can go Trevor Gooseby here, who has played right tackle before, train him up to be the long-term guy, but he did have a huge amount of struggles this past week. And this might just not be the class to throw a dart at them. It might just not be. Like, I might feel very comfortable maybe trying to get someone through free agency or, developing a guy down the line. Like, I don't like this tackle class very much. Who I do like for this team is Colton Hood, who has a very high zone IQ, who's very physical, reminds me a lot of the positive traits that I kind of like about Q coming out in terms of the physicality, the ability to play off coverage. Maybe not the athlete that Q is by any stretch, but We're talking about corner 2 here, who's going at the end of the first versus somebody who I had in my top 10 with Quinion Mitchell. So we're going to go Colton Hood there at 32 for the Eagles. So that's going to be day 1. Stay tuned tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. Thank you again for showing the love you always do. Love you. See you later. Peace.